me get a one in chat if you can hear me. Chat if you can hear me. Alright, I got a little bit of an echo. Either one of you guys got it playing. Let's go ahead and beat that.
You're talking about your video?
Yeah.
Is that better?
It's still going.
It's not me. I don't even. I see you on YouTube.
All right.
I don't see you on
YouTube.
Guys.
Yeah, I jumped on YouTube so I can see what
the
chat is and stuff.
I see us.
All right. Welcome everybody to the stream. We've got a couple of special guests with us here today. Please join me in welcoming IotaPie from ViperNet and IEDoc from BzMiner. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hi.
Appreciate y'all making it here on a Sunday. I'm surprised I made it myself, if I'm being honest. Yesterday was my birthday, and I had a little bit of fun. Not going to lie. But we got lots of stuff to get into, man. And I think what better way to really get into these subjects than to have the people behind the magic here. So we've got a pool operator, we've got a miner dev, and we've got some great perspectives to share with you. Let me go ahead and full screen this here. I'm going to go ahead and throw chat up in here. There we go. Red Panda Mining is here. Thank you, sir. Sadie, sometimes I see you out there. Magic Lucky, best YouTube. Man, we got a bunch here. I appreciate you all for being here. And as far as questions and answers, we'll try and take some questions as we're going, but perhaps we'll save most of them towards the end. We got a lot of subjects that we want to get through, but before we get into the subjects, I just want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their background. So, IotaPie, we're going to start with you, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what your experience with crypto is, how you got started, and take it away.
Okay, my name is Matt in real life. Everyone on Discord knows me as IotaPie. And let's see. So I got caught up in crypto in the ETH craze, and actually the Chia craze at first. Then got into the ETH mining, and just really enjoyed the mining experience, and brought some of my technical background into it. Met some really great people online, and all of a sudden we started a pool, and it's just exploded from there.
Awesome, man. How long have you guys been doing it, actually? What was your first pool?
When ETH was about to end, a few of us in one of the Discords set up an Ergo pool, and just like 5 or 6 of us started mining Ergo, and it just took off from there. I was like, this is a lot of fun. I invited a couple other guys, and then Bass jumped in. He's like, oh, I can do a better UI than this. I was like, here you go, brother. And he's my partner in crime when it comes to the pool, and he is just relentless about perfection and making things better, and he just drives us. So the universe really made this happen.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys' pool has been really doing well. It's and it's a great pool too. It was nice.
Thanks. We try.
It's really awesome to see you guys collaborate on stuff, and sometimes personalities don't always mesh, but I can imagine there's some challenges there. But when it comes to working with minor devs, when it comes to working with project devs, everybody is probably asking you to add a coin, but perhaps they don't understand the dynamic of those relationships and how challenging it can be at times.
I mean, yeah, it can be challenging. But the most recent coin we added, a lithium, that was that was their team saying, "Hey, give us a chance. Take a look at us." And we had a lot of our miners come in and say, "Hey, you should take a look at this other coin, and can you add it?" And we, I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but anytime someone makes a request, we actually go dig in and look at it, because we're curious. I mean, we want to know, and like our biggest tips have always come from our users.
Same here.
Yeah, yep, same here as well.
And Doc, go ahead, take it away, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got started in crypto.
Yeah, sure. So I love video games. And I had been playing video games pretty much my whole life. So I think probably when I was maybe 8 to 10, somewhere around there. I would always like. I remember it was what game was it? Paperboy. There was this one area that I kept trying to jump into, and I thought if you jump into that area, it would like open up into this whole like new world for some reason. And I was like, oh man, the developer should have done that. And I was like, maybe I can figure out how to do that. And then I learned programming, and so then I got into game programming at that time. And so I really like got big on like graphics programming, like DirectX and OpenGL and all that. And so I think it was like 2019 or something like that. Um, well, I'd first been introduced to Bitcoin, I think, in 2011, and I had tried mining it, and I couldn't immediately figure it out. So I kind of just moved on and didn't do anything with it until like 2019. I was like, okay, I'm gonna finally jump in and actually get in and do a little mining because ETH was kind of getting big at that time. Um, and so I had mined for maybe like a month, and I was like, you know what? It's like it's using the GPU, and my like expertise is in like high performance programming and like graphics and using GPUs and stuff. So maybe I can do it better. So yeah, that's when I started BzMiner. And that's basically why I'm here.
Right on. So,
It's
how many
been kind of
years
fun.
total has BzMiner been around?
I think I released the first version in 2019, so it's probably been 4 or 5 years maybe.
Nice. Well, you came up quickly, man. That was about the time, or actually, it's probably more like 2020 that I really started investigating GPU mining a little bit more heavily. I started out with a few ASICs way, way back in the day, and a buddy of mine sent them off to hosting, and that turned out to be a terrible idea. And mining didn't come to
Uh,
the forefront for a while. But being able to have my equipment here and not have it, just screaming at me all the time and creating a ton of heat. I'm fortunate now that I have a little bit more room. I've got a shop at the back of my property that most of my equipment is in, and it's just, I love GPU mining. I like the ethos of using the equipment that anybody has access to, and
Well, you remember BZ's big thing that made a bunch of people a ton of money was when he set it up to mine directly to the Caspa nodes when it was first coming out.
yes,
oh yeah, that was helpful. The Zill
Dude,
thing too.
you made so much money for people. You made a lot of money.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, there is a reason why no other developers are doing the solo mining with um, Caspa. I'm surprised Regal doesn't though, because basically the problem is that they use gRPC and
Hmm.
Google's RPC thing, and from a C++ perspective, it's a freaking nightmare to get set up and going and building and whatever all that stuff. But I think Rust has like something built in, so I'm surprised, Regal doesn't just do that. Unless he does, I guess I don't know. But yeah, that was Caspa was a good one. I'm glad I had jumped on Caspa, and I was very happy that I was able to help people out with that.
Yeah, dude,
That was a fun one.
that was stunning. And then when we first did our first collab with my partner Bass and myself and you on Nexa when we first cracked that nut with their proprietary protocol and everything, and that's when things really started taking off for everybody.
Yeah. Nexa has been a pretty good one. That one took a long time too.
TPS that they're boasting now, I think they're up to like 17,000 transactions per second or something.
They are? Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't see
saw
that.
something on Twitter recently. I'll share it with you guys, I guess, whenever we wrap up here. But y'all bring me to my next topic here, and that is, what is your checklist for adding new coins? I think maybe hearing from the community and requests, but when it comes to actually investigating it and figuring out if it's something that you want to tackle, what makes you decide, or what things do you look at before deciding to add a coin? And I guess we'll go ahead and start with you, Doc.
Okay. There is a few things I like to pay attention to. First of all, I know I'm probably gonna make a lot of people mad, but if it's a meme coin, I'm not interested at all. Because I actually do kind of care about crypto, and I think I hate pump and dumps basically, and that's pretty much all they are. Anyways, the other thing is, of course, if you're getting a bunch of tips from the community or like PMs, there's a few people that have had a really good track record with tipping me about stuff. Then I like to look at what the project actually is and what it's offering, the algorithm, and if possible, like the dev team or who's behind it, because that's always kind of interesting to who's behind it. Ultimately, though, it kind of comes down to if it seems like a fun algorithm for me to add. So I've added a few coins that nobody even minds, but I thought it would be a fun one to jump on. There's another coin that I've been kind of working on for like the last year. I still haven't finished it yet, and I think it's getting to be about time that I should probably finish that one. I can't say it right now, but
we all have that. We all have that.
Yeah, it seemed like a fun one, so I kind of started on it. But unfortunately, my math is not like Lol is the math guy, so I ask him questions sometimes about stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty mathy one, so there's only so much optimizing you can really do when you don't fully understand the math. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If it's fun, if it looks like fun or a good one, and a good one, I guess.
Right on. Matt, what about you? You got a spreadsheet that you have to have a checklist on?
Well, it's nice to have a partner to like bounce ideas off of, because the two of us have gone back and forth on some. We'll agree on some. We'll be like, dude, did you really suggest that? We'll do that with each other. But, first of all, do we find it interesting? What are they doing? Like, are they doing something different? When we first wanted to add Octaspace, it was like, look, they're doing something different. They actually have utility. Like, let's take a real, close look at this. And the other thing is how well is that coin being served? Like, I would love to do Flux. There are a gajillion Flux pools, and why would I get into that, right? If it's already well served, then I'm not bringing anything to the table. And does it have a real market cap? Like, does it have value? Or is it just like Doc said, is it just a dump? And what's the daily trading volume? Is it real? And then, honestly, how much work is it to add? Like, is it going to take us a long time to do it? Is it worth it?
Yeah. Right on. That's a good point, actually, that last one, too. Sometimes it's just not worth the effort on some things. About the Flux thing, by the way. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of, ones that are difficult, I'm curious, what has been the most difficult coins for you guys to implement?
Doc, take that one first.
Okay, well, there's probably the obvious one, which is why I've been so quiet with updates the last couple of months. Dynex has been really difficult. And that one is weird because it's not, the algorithm's actually really simple, but the problem is with that one is that I've spent 99% of my time just debugging. What it uses floating point, numbers. So the problem is like you can have something that's off by like 0.00000001 or something like that, and you won't notice anything until like an hour into mining when the errors add up after a bunch of time. So that kind of thing is annoying. The other one was Nexa, although Nexa was fun because I got to work with Lal on that one. But that one was also difficult. That one took a couple months to get in. I would say those two. And Nexa was because the algorithm's more complicated.
Yeah, I can see Bass in chat, and Matt's agreeing here. So yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bass did all the work for Nexa, and he literally spent a month of his life before baby, just going through and creating it, and he like literally was trying to reverse engineer the protocols, and he got screwed over a couple times during the process. For me personally, my white whale is Zeph. God almighty. Like I had that thing running great back in like August. And then they did their fork and it just screwed everything up for me. And this community has been great. Like shout out to Cedric, who maintains what I think is the absolute best open source mining core. And he and I worked on it together. He's got it up and going. I got a couple more bugs I got to work through, but time. So that's my white whale is Zeph.
Right on. So we'll get into what was the easiest, but before we do, I just want to remind everybody, I see about 130, 140 people in chat. Go ahead and hit that like, hit the subscribe if you haven't already, and share the stream out if you could. We're going to get into, I don't want to say the politics, but we're going to get into some deep dives, maybe some opinion pieces here. I'm sure that those that are watching would like to know what your thoughts are on a few things. But let's jump back into what was the easiest coin to mine, or excuse me, to add.
Did you say, excuse me, did you say the easiest coins to mine?
The easiest ones to add.
Well, of course, if I already have the coin like Caspa and then Carlson comes along, and that one was really easy. Well, actually, even easier than that is any of the Cowpaw ones because I already have that one. Does that count? Probably not.
So I would guess, anything that's a fork that you've already done is probably going to be the easiest thing to implement.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that other miners do it, so like you just select Cowpaw, but the reason why I don't do that is because when it rolls over to the dev fee, you have to regenerate the DAG if I don't know which coin you're mining. I'm still working, still trying to think of a good way to deal with that. But other than that, it's a lot of these core algorithm ones were really easy to add. Yeah, I think mainly a lot of the trouble kind of comes with trying to figure out the darn protocol with the pool, because sometimes the coins, they don't, if I go to jump on a coin, and there's no pools yet, yeah, that's kind of difficult to do a dev fee with that. But also, like, Lefium actually, that one didn't have really any pools when I first added it. And so we were kind of like trying to figure out a protocol, and everyone has like different ideas for like the best protocol, and then you end up with like I think it happened on Caspa as well. I got a protocol for Caspa, and then like I don't know who was next after me. Had the exact same protocol except they used integers instead of like a hex string for something. And so it ended up forking, and then there was two protocols all of a sudden. So then you have to support both of them. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, your turn.
So the absolute easiest, and like I could, if I really wanted to, I could take an afternoon and automate it. Any of these Ghostwriter Raptorium clones, I can have that up in an hour. Like it's so cake. And because I've done it a couple times. And then, any coin that basically forks from Bitcoin, that's fairly easy. But the Ghostwriter ones, it's just whoever did the original implementation for Mining Core, it's a lift. It's so well done and easy to do. And we've got our alpha lab and our pre-production lab, and the alpha lab's really my playground. Like, I have absolute full control over it. I got a copy of the GUI so I can add the coins to it. And if I want to mine it, I'll spin it up and put it in alpha, and I'll say that anyone who wants to join, hey, come on over here. And that's sort of blown up on a couple of coins.
Okay. Well, that takes me to the next topic, which is potential in coins. I mean, obviously, if you're going to add or implement a coin, perhaps you do have some belief that it's going to do well. But if you had to pick, let's just say one or two out of all of the different options that are out there, what do you guys think has the most potential? And maybe price potential, but also utility potential.
Yeah, are you talking about just like any GPU mineable coin at the moment?
Yeah.
I have like a handful of coins that I think are gonna do well. Yeah, how about you go first?
Nice. Okay. Honestly, I would have answered this differently a month ago, but after working with the team at Alephium, that team that runs that chain are top notch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable the support they've given and how dedicated their crew is. Like, it's impressive. And they did it from scratch. They're not a fork. I've got a lot of faith in what they're doing and how they're doing it. I'm impressed, very impressed.
Yeah, I can second that. When I was working on Alephium, I really enjoyed working with their team, and I think they had a unique idea with the 16 chains going on at once. It's kind of a double-edged sword a little bit, but I think if you do it right, that was like one thing. When we started with the protocol on Alephium, I kept trying to get everyone all the pool operators, to not send every single chain to, every miner at the same time, and nobody would listen to me. And I was like, all right, fine, because I had a bunch of like big farms that were just complaining because they were going through like terabytes a month in like network activity. And so that was like that's when I actually started developing a feature in BZ, which I haven't released yet, as a proxy feature, so that, a farm, for example, could have one node of BZ, doing all the network activity, and then all the other instances connected to that. But yeah, Alephium's team, they're a good one. I think Alephium has a good future ahead of them. I knew they did. When they first came out, the price kind of went down, which I kind of expect a lot of times to happen with coins. And I knew it was just a matter of time where it would kind of come back up, and it really has came back up a lot, which is awesome to see. So that's why I've never sold, and I'm happy I didn't.
Nice. Yeah, price and difficulty are both heading up for sure. And speaking of, one thing that caught my attention was something very, very old in their Discord. They talked about merge mining with all of these, different, what was it, 16 different chains running simultaneously.
Yeah.
So
the block time's like 4 seconds, really.
And it's not something that they advertise and talk about. They joined a Twitter space that we did not too long ago, and I asked them specifically about that. And she did a little checking. She got back with me, and she said, yes, it is, in fact, we're capable of doing that. But do you guys have any insight on perhaps when something like that can be implemented?
I am not privy to their internal roadmap, but I can tell you they are very supportive of the pool ops, and they're not going to just throw it out and change stuff on us. I mean, they took engineering time for us. Like, they didn't have the ability to prune their chain. And like literally the node's like 93 gigabytes. And I was like, oh, we can't do that. We can't take a node with 93 gigabytes. Not the way we operate. And they took engineering time and implemented pruning on their chain.
Wow.
I mean, it benefits
nice.
everybody, but
Yeah.
but they put that engineering time in.
That says a lot for their dedication, man, and it's good to hear because I slept on Alephium initially. I was much too focused on Caspa at the time, and also on Nexa quite a bit. And not too long ago, maybe several months ago, we were on DJ Stream and we talked about what coins had the most potential. And just because it wasn't being talked about, I mentioned Nexa, but Hawk had picked Alephium. And when he mentioned that, I started to dive into it a little bit more. And the more I learn, the more impressive it becomes. But, now we're talking about FPGA bit streams being out there. We see the difficulty going up. We hear the speculation about ASICs coming. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe the efficiency isn't magnitudes better on FPGAs. Are you guys aware of what that looks like?
Well, I can say, there's a difference between like efficiency and like hash rate if that's what you're talking about. I would say probably they're gonna very likely be way more efficient than GPUs, but I really think that people get the wrong idea with FPGAs like taking over networks. I just think there's just not enough FPGAs to really push out, GPU miners. But because FPGAs aren't going to get like this generally. I guess a lot of times they're going to get like an insanely more amount of hash rate. Like ASICs are a way different story there. But they're usually way more efficient, because you're cutting out, like, if you think about like CPUs and GPUs, they're just made for very general, like, be able to run anything, like you can write any code on it, run any kind of logic on it, So there's a lot of like overhead on those chips, to be able to accommodate all this like this general computing. Whereas, FPGAs, you can kind of just program the circuit like basically at the hardware level to be extremely efficient. So the circuits, the energy is really only ever doing like something that's like what you need to be doing, part of the logic, there's none of that other overhead. But I mean, I don't know.
So I've got one of those C1100 FPGAs, and I got it during the ETH days, and it's come in really useful for development and stuff. And worked with the guys at Whitefire and Flying Panda and those guys. And basically, the C1100, which is an average, and it's not the fastest, it will get basically the same as a 4090, but at like half the power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm seeing from, what we can tell. I personally don't have an FPGA, although I would like to add them to the arsenal. It's very appealing to be able to move from one coin to the other, cut the power in half. But the barrier to entry is a little bit steeper, and, the knowledge that comes behind implementing those bit streams and stuff is going to be a whole nother can of worms to get into. And the other thing to consider is the community. There just aren't as many FPGA miners out there as there are GPU and CPU miners, of course. So we'll have to kind of cater to the audience in a sense. Somebody had just mentioned in chat, I think it was Bacon, Eggs, and Hash, he wanted us to talk about Radiant. There's been a bit stream for Radiant for quite a while. There was some talk about an ASIC coming out. We saw the pool that was opened up by the same people that started for Caspa. I sent out a tweet. I think price started to pump a little bit based on that speculation. But, Radiant's one of those projects that is completely community driven. There's not really a team of people that are promoting it, pushing development. It's essentially a tool that was developed and opened up to the public to do with whatever we want. And I feel like that's kind of a double-edged sword in a sense, because it's up to us to do something with it, and a lot of people are just here for the speculation, right? So I'm curious what you guys think about Radiant, just to answer Bacon Egg Hash's question there. What are your
All right.
thoughts on Radiant?
I have thoughts on Radiant actually. Yeah, so Radiant has been dude, Radiant kind of just blew my mind. It just for seemingly no reason. I'm sorry, Radiant. I love Radiant. But for seemingly no reason, it's like it's done really well. I don't really know why. And I know probably people are gonna hate me for saying that, but I'm very happy that it's done well, and I like the community. Actually, the Radiant community is pretty cool. Um, but it was very surprising to me how well Radiant is done. I don't really know. I haven't really been able to figure out what exactly, like, like some coins will do well and then they won't do very well, and I feel like Radiant's just kind of done well, like in general. Um, I guess my only thoughts on it is I don't know why it's doing so well. What do you guys think about it?
So, I mean, they just released some NFT implementations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of the guys that started Radiant have started, some other coins, as a matter of fact. And so they've got a deep bench and some very devout, really, like you said, like a great community. Um, and it holds a special place for us at Viper. I mean, it was our first coin that we really implemented, and it's been a fun journey with them. I mean, I've got an M2 multi-miner that I got from Hobbyist Miner randomly. I bought it from him. My C1100 up until Elysium was parked on that for Radiant. So, I mean, I'm still building my bag. I'm honestly probably in
Yeah.
the top 100 holders. Legit, I'm probably in the top 100.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm still holding all mine. It's just done well, and I guess I never really sell my crypto anyways, but it, I see Radiant doing well. I mean, it's already done well. I don't know why I wouldn't just continue doing well. It seems like it has it's to me, Radiant feels like a really just solid crypto project, I don't feel like there's anything super special about it. It just seems really like very solid to me. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's other projects. I mean, like take Novo. It had the same infrastructure, basically same algo, but it didn't have the community. And one withered, and the other one has done well.
hmm yeah, okay,
So
that makes
it
sense.
really does come
The
down to the
community.
community that's endorsing it. Yeah.
It really
Actually,
does.
that's a interesting thing too, actually. Just speaking of that, because like a lot of coins, like they're choosing these core-based algorithms on purpose, so you end up with dedicated hardware later on. But I think that what is it? I think Ironfish, for example, they no, hold on, I'm trying to think which coin it was specifically. I think the GPU mining community is really big. So I think that it's a really smart idea for coins, even if they do eventually plan on, getting to dedicated hardware to make use of the GPU mining community. It's useful for the GPU mining community to have something to mine, but also it gives the um, recognition, maybe I guess the word, from the GPU mining community to bolster up the project a little bit. Because if they jump right into like something that's just going to be ASICs right away, or like what that GPUs can't really mine, I feel like you're kind of losing that whole phase where you could have been moving up due to the GPU mining community. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And for anybody out there listening that's a fan of Radiant, just keep this in mind. It literally is up to us to bring awareness to the project. If you want it to succeed, if you want it to do well, we've got to talk about it. We've got to get it out there and let people know. And if there's, anybody that is really into that community and has some deep knowledge into the project, come on the show. Let's talk about it. Let's get some awareness out there. I did see a good question. Let's see, where was it? Sadie sometimes asked if we could cover Alf's tier difficulty briefly. Do you guys know much about the tier difficulty
On
No.
on Elysium?
on Alephium?
I mean, Bass is
Oh,
the expert on that one for sure. But each individual chain has its own individual difficulty.
yeah. Actually, that's an interesting thing. When I first added support for lithium, I was purposely having BZ choose the chain with the lowest difficulty. And at first, you might think, oh, that's not a good idea because then everybody's just going to jump to the same one. But of course, if everybody did, then the difficulty goes high on that chain. So it averages out. So I don't know if that's what the tiered difficulty means, though, for sure. I don't know what the tiered difficulty is if it's not the difficulty per chain.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is it gives the pool / the dev a lot of leeway to play. And I can tell you, we do things to optimize for our miners that use our pool with Lithium.
Awesome. And I see it in
Yeah.
rewards too. There's several coins that it may not be the top pool on, but the rewards are always consistent and in many cases higher than what the calculator is showing. So I know that you guys optimize for those types of things, and it's very much appreciated.
I mean, we're more than an order of magnitude smaller than the top pool on Lithium, and profitability's been good.
Yeah.
Who's the top pool,
Yeah.
Wooly?
Oh God, no!
Who's the top pool on the lithium?
Hero miners.
Oh, Hero. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, a good buddy of mine, Adam, who's actually, I think, maybe the first person who sold me a GPU mining rig before I knew how to put them together. He actually had mentioned that he wasn't getting the rewards on Alephium compared to hashrate.no. I don't know where they're pulling their data from, but has anybody else had any issues with Alephium calculators versus payout?
I do all my own calculations on a spreadsheet. I mean, if I'm stuck and want to look at something real quick, the cool thing about hashrate.no is you can put in custom GPUs.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can take the stock one, put in your own hash rate and your own power rate, because I don't run stuff at 450 watts. and that's why I use that as a calculator at times.
Okay. I wanted to move on and maybe give some advice to anybody out there that's listening. I think a lot of people that are here right now are probably veterans, but people that will watch this stream later, they may be new to mining, and you guys are a wealth of knowledge. Is there some tips and tricks or maybe things to avoid or any tools that you guys want to suggest for people that are getting into this?
Oh God.
Dude, I'm sorry.
I mean, the tips and tricks for like new people getting in. The YouTube channels are a wealth to get your bearings. And the communities are great. Go in humble. If you go in humble, and like you're going to get flamed occasionally, and you know what? You're going to have to be a big boy and take it. But be humble, ask the questions, take the suggestions, and you'll at least get your bearings.
Can you actually repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just anything that you want to share with people that are just getting into this, whether that's a tool that you think would be helpful or things to avoid, such as not downloading a miner directly to your daily driver PC with all your personal information, or how to set up a virtual machine, things like that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess this is just, good advice in general, probably, but be careful with the hype stuff. Like if something's getting hyped, you're already too late. So you got to remember that. And a lot of people do not realize that.
Yeah.
Just that's a general advice, I guess.
We started out before the stream started having a pretty good conversation about how, let's say for example a new coin, Nexelia right now pumped like crazy I spec mined quite a bit of that before an exchange, and then Trade Ogre hit, and the price just dumped, and I cashed out the majority of those coins, thinking, this is the next Caspa fork that's probably going to repeat the same behavior as the other ones. But surprisingly, it did well, and it's kind of selling off right at the moment. But typically what I find is people looking at hashrate.no or what to mine, they're looking at profitability right at that moment. And take for example Carlson, you're mining it based on what is most profitable at that moment, but the price continues to decline. So everything that you're mining right now becomes lower and lower value, whereas when something new comes out, you should perhaps stick with a coin that's difficulty is dropping that you really want to accumulate. Like let's say, for example, Alephium. I know hash rate's much higher right now, but think about all the people that jumped off of Alephium and other projects to jump onto Nexelia, and now that they've gotten in less than 24 hours later, the price of the coin has dropped 50%.
Yeah. I think another thing too is that I think it's really important. There's kind of two ways to look at it. So like, you've got this hype, because like hype is almost inevitable, like all the time, you have to like, when you're looking at a graph and you see that spike, whatever, like I think it's important to realize that like there's a thing such as spikes. So it's okay to like get in like after, yeah, you, yep. I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry.
Well, we talked
No,
earlier
I
about.
think you're 100% right with that. I think you got to watch for like when everyone's talking about it, it's time to sell. And I think Rabid on his show today was like, I'm yield mining now. I mean, he went to Carlson, yes. Right? He's 100% right with that. If you want to be a real successful miner, you mine for yield and you sell on the pumps. But that doesn't mean you don't accumulate and hodl at times. Like, honestly, the past 2 months, everything that I've mined and sold, I've gone back and bought Zeth with.
Nice.
Right? Because I believe in it.
Yeah, that's you know what? Totally, if Rabbit talked about that today, that's good. Because that's we were just talking about this mine some 10 right before this, I guess. But you want to get in before, like basically, after you see that spike that I was talking about, after the spike is a good time to get in. Mm-hmm. If the project's looking good, like there's other stuff to look at to see if the project's going to be any good or not. And of course, just spec mine something that looks, even if it looks like it's not going to do well, it could do well in the future. I don't know. But yield mining, I think, is really where the money's at. Because if you're going to be just following, the profits, what everybody else is doing, the day-to-day profits, sure, maybe you can stay above zero while you're mining, but dude, you're never going to really make any money. You're basically just barely paying for your electricity. So if you can, try to save up, some money to essentially go for a couple months without making profits, so that way you have like some flexibility for like, a month or a couple months, to hold while things are moving around or whatever. I wouldn't, that's one thing I'll probably say to people that are new to GPU mining is try not to chase like the immediate profits. Try to actually look into the projects a little bit and just see where they might be going. Also, do not become blind and stuck on a single project, because there's a lot of that where it turns you into an asshole, first of all, and also just you're gonna get screwed if you're just absolutely blind and not. Anytime somebody asks a question, like even if the question's been answered a million times, it's best just to answer that question. Not everybody has the time to look through like thousands of messages on Discord to find like whatever they're looking for, but and don't get mad when people ask questions about a project that you're really bullish on. It's there's projects I'm really bullish on and I love it, but I think it's a really good idea to scrutinize. Dude, we're in crypto. you realize how bad scams are and like how volatile it is. You know, it's so important to. A lot of times, devs don't like know everything. So when people ask questions like, "Oh wait, yeah, I didn't," that's a blind spot. I guess I didn't see that. It could help them too. So if you're new to crypto, or even people that are already in crypto, don't be a jerk when people ask questions that may look like FUD, or even if it is FUD, just answer it in a way so that so that it's not FUD anymore. You can totally turn FUD into not FUD if it's if it's legit.
Yeah, one thing that we've talked about recently in our Discord actually is it seems like there's a rash of devs that have no diplomacy whatsoever. That just, not always rude necessarily, but, just brush things off. And, that's how you get some engagement. And I just don't understand their inability to be professional in that sense. And that to me is a red flag. If a dev is in there, bashing people or making fun of anybody or belittling questions and stuff like that's a huge turnoff for me.
Uh,
The other thing I want to mention, and I got to give a shout out to Rabid Mining for this because he put this into my head. I don't know if he actually ever said it, but diversification, not in coin, but in your hardware. Like have some ASICs, have some GPUs, have some CPUs. Just don't go all in on one
Diversify.
thing. Yeah.
Dude, diversify. That's a big one because, like, with yield mining, actually, that's a good example of yield mining. You might love a project and think it's going to do really well, but if you go all in on that and it doesn't turn out very well, then what do you got? Nothing. So, well, yield mining, basically, or spec mining, either one. Basically, if you are mining like 10 different things, and this is why BZ actually allows you to mine every single algorithm there is in BZ all on the same card. Because originally when I started BZ, I was thinking, like people might want to diversify through mining. So all you need is like one or two, hits, and the rest can be duds.
Mm-hmm.
And those one or two hits we're in crypto, you can see like 100 to 1,000 times, sometimes even. And that can more than make up for all the duds that you've got. So diversify. Diversifying is a good idea.
Absolutely. One thing about diversifying, though, that may be a real challenge for new people is storing these new coins. Um, Maybe if you guys could elaborate a little bit on how you approach that particular subject, because I've got 20 or 30 different wallets that can be a
Yeah.
challenge to keep up with, and especially as you change hardware. Like I recently rebuilt my daily driver, and I've got a gaming PC, and I've got a couple of dedicated nodes and stuff like that. But how would you guys advise people to handle that?
So the way I do it, and the way I do it for the pool, is I have an encrypted notebook, and anytime I create an address, I immediately dump the private key and immediately dump the passphrase and save them all. So if I ever need to come back to it, like I went back to Varus a year afterwards, and I went back to my notebook. I was like, here's the phrase, and I just generated it all again because the ledger is the chain. That's the beauty of crypto. I just have to have the private key and or the phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Heh, yeah. So there's an ideal way to do it. If you have because you also have to worry about, if you add a new coin, whether the wallets or nodes are going to be, malicious. So I kind of just assume and hope that they're not. So I mean, okay, when I worked at 3M, I got in trouble for security stuff. So I'm like the last person you should ask for when it comes to security. But as far as like convenience, I just have like a VM. But I think what I wanted to do, probably I will at some point, just get a laptop that's like dedicated to wallets or whatever. But I think it is a good idea to at least keep your keep those your crypto stuff at least separated from any important stuff on your computer. So I mean, I have mine in a VM, and I think if you had like a VM per coin, that would be best, but that is quite
So
cumbersome.
so the if you want to go quasi advanced, learn Linux because I mean, if you're in crypto, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to
Yeah,
learn some command line stuff. You got to. Uh, and you know, for me, I just use the CLI, the Linux CLI wallets, and I put everything in a Docker container. Everything's in its own Docker container, and it's a little bit of a pain the first time you set it up. So you're not going to be the first one there, setting up a coin, but it's like a sandbox for every single wallet, and they can't break out and steal someone else. They
dude,
can't break out.
yeah, that's actually way better. That's when I said the VM thing, whatever per wallet. That actually what you just said is way better because that's way less cumbersome, and you can just launch them. Like VMs are kind of a pain because you got to install the whole operating system and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
Docker is so easy now. You basically just tell it what OS you want, and then even like what version of. I think that every wallet and every project should just have like a Docker, image or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I've been asked so many times to make a Docker for BZ, and I did have a Docker at one point, and it's like outdated now probably. But yeah, that's
So when we
definitely good.
were when that Able coin came out, and it was making, I don't know, freaking $10 per GPU a day or whatever. But you had to use their miner, and it blew away Hive OS. I was like, all right. So I actually figured out how to do a Docker container for their miner to interact with the NVIDIA GPUs. And I tell you what, I gave it out to whoever wanted it, obviously. I don't care. But that actually worked really, really well. And like, it won't work with some miners, like Rigel won't work, but Lull miner will work, BzMiner will work. I've done it. So
Nice.
yeah, I think miners come along in Docker containers because now you don't have to worry about what you're running on.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely actually, yeah. So advice for new people coming into crypto: learn Linux. Even though I'm sorry, I'm a huge GUI person and I hate typing commands all day. But dude, it's inevitable. If you're in crypto, you're gonna have to learn commands. You have to learn how
Yeah.
to use Linux, at least some of the basic stuff.
Now, speaking of
So
Dockers and Linux, I wanted to get into AI. So, if you don't know anything about Linux or very little, like me, um, getting into building a rig for, let's say, for instance, Vast or Clore, or perhaps things that are coming out in the future, learning and understanding Linux is going to put you ahead of most people. But some of these are not really crypto related, but the people that are utilizing them are mining crypto with it. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, y'all's thoughts on building rigs for AI, or perhaps just building rigs in general that have capable CPUs of CPU mining as well as GPU mining. One of the things that I'm kind of looking at right now is I purchased a few CPUs, and they would be good candidates for an AI rig, but when they're not being utilized for that type of service, I can CPU mine and GPU mine, and I'm building a pretty elaborate spreadsheet right now to kind of illustrate the differences on return on investment if you decide to build rigs that are capable of CPU mining. But what do you guys think of the future of building rigs for AI and this type of work?
well, I can say you're gonna want to use the full PCI bandwidth for anything AI generally. I mean, well, I guess then you've got like other things like Dynex that are kind of like a level on top of that stuff. But generally, with like AI or machine learning, really, AI is such a broad term; it's kind of weird. But at least with like machine learning and stuff, you've got so much data going back and forth, and usually really massive data sets. So you want cards that have a lot of like RAM on them, VRAM,
Mm-hmm.
that will reduce a lot of the PCI traveling of the data. You're
And
probably
that's
gonna
the
need a
fly
lot
in
of
the
RAM too.
ointment, though. That's the fly in the ointment for the motherboard and the CPU, right? Because you got to have all these PCI Express lanes
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that run a bunch. I mean, if you're going to do a real rig, like not just onesies, twosies, you got to have something with a bunch of PCIe lanes,
yeah,
and those aren't cheap. Those aren't cheap. Like you're in Threadripper, you're in Epic level motherboards.
yeah, yep. That's very true. And it's kind of tricky too because I didn't even know this like a while ago, but basically like PCI essentially has like four times PCI lanes, and most motherboards that you buy actually only one or two of the actual like PCI slots actually have
Do
all 16
bifurcation, yeah,
lanes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
that's something to watch out for because
Especially
I
with the
mean
older
yeah.
motherboards.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep.
And
Um
with the pump on CPU coins, especially Zeph, the price of Epic motherboards, like the super micros, it's stupid. They've doubled.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't even get in cheap now.
yeah. Yeah, that's I had recently upgraded to a workstation. I finally went from Intel. I've always went for like gaming workstations, or computers basically. But with what I need, a workstation works better, so I have more threads. So I went with AMD. But the funniest thing is like, okay, I was gonna get the Threadripper Pro a few months ago last year, and I didn't because there was no motherboard available for it yet. And within, I think, I don't know if there was some coin that pumped, some CPU coin that pumped towards the end of last year, something like that. Well, I went online and everything was sold out of those. So it might be a good idea to try to get. It's really tough because in crypto, you really need to. Well, I guess not even just crypto, even the AI stuff that you're talking about. Um, you want to get things before things get big. And since AI, I feel like hasn't, as far as like being a profitable thing to run your hardware on or run your hardware for, I feel like it hasn't totally exploded yet. So now might be a good time to start investing in like AI equipment, before, because otherwise you're gonna end up running once there's a little bit of demand, then you have like scalpers like crazy that just grab the rest of it. So you first have the people that are using it that's gonna like take them up, and then anything that's left, the scalpers are gonna get. So then you're gonna pay a bunch more later on. So if you can, try to get the hardware early.
If you guys had to choose right now, like let's say for instance, you got a pretty small budget and you're trying to weigh out, do I get something like an X570 and a 5950X and throw a couple of GPUs on it, or do you go ahead and opt for 7000 series, maybe a board that has a few more PCIe lanes and perhaps get 3 or 4 GPUs, or do you wait until 9000 series comes out and start, investigating what boards are going to look like then?
So I've stopped purchasing hardware as far as CPU mining goes because one, and Weed Farmer over on Rabid Mining's Discord brought this up, and I was like, and Keaton over there too. The two of them nailed it. New algorithms are going to come out with AVX 512 instruction, and the 7000 series from AMD has it. The new 9000 is going to have it, and the new 9000 series is right around the corner. I'm not buying anything that doesn't have AVX 512 in it.
Okay. Can you, for those that don't know, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. So there's super vector based instructions, sort of like that accelerate algorithms, which is what CPU mining is. And the new AMD CPUs are going to be the only ones that have that instruction set in them. And it will give them an immense advantage on any new algo that comes out that actually utilizes AVX 512.
Okay. Gotcha. Guys that are in chat, if you'll start posting some questions. I got a couple more topics that I want to cover. I want to talk about Caspa forks. I want to talk about a little bit of market speculation and some of the future plans that these guys have. But if you'll start posting your questions in chat, you can at them, you can at me, whatever you want to do. But we'll be wrapping up probably in the next 20 minutes to 30 minutes, hopefully, something like that. But as far as Caspa forks are concerned, I think a lot of people probably saw that tweet that I put out. Someone in Discord said that Caspa is going to have more forks than a cafeteria. And, everything being open sourced and the tech behind it, I agree. I think there's going to be more Caspa forks that come out.
It's not surprising with how well Caspa did. Of course, people are jumping on it.
So what do you guys think about some of the recent Caspa forks, and what are your thoughts on the future of Caspa forks?
It's just like all the the Bitcoin forks. Like, some may hit, some may not. I mean, the real differentiator is if it has, in my opinion, is if it has utility. Does it do something?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I hate copycat coins. I just cannot stand them. But the funny thing though is that, like, with Carlson, and only because Carlson was the first legit one, is that it did offer something that Caspa didn't offer, which is, and it's kind of a long shot as far as crypto goes, but it offers GPU miners to participate in a block dig crypto project like Caspa, with, because you're not really participating with Caspa anymore, the GPU miner, you're doing nothing. So Carlson kind of offered that, but I really do not. I am not very bullish on coins generally that exist solely for mining profits, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing against mining, obviously. It's just that I really would like to see crypto succeed in the future, and I really think that, with a bunch of projects and copycat projects and like projects that are just there to kind of give people, like, make people money, I feel like that kind of really muddies crypto a lot, and I think it's inevitable. So it's something you just got to deal with. There's a lot of things like that. It's just the way it is. But I don't really have too many. I don't really have. Caspa has really good technology, so I just hope that, if people are going to be forking that or whatever, or working from that technology, that they're actually going to do something useful with it, rather than just be like, oh, here's another Caspa fork.
Mm-hmm. One thing that worries me is a lot of these projects are implementing what's current, but they're not going to be able to keep up with the development that Caspa has later, and they're really going to be missing out if they're not willing to put in that work. And it begs the question: if let's say, for instance, somebody was looking into forking Caspa, is it better to wait until all the things are done that they want to do before implementing that?
Dude, that is a super good point, actually. That I've thought about this as well. Like, forking Caspa, because Caspa is good technology. So you want to make a coin that's built on good technology, right? Caspa, is built on top of the Bitcoin. Everything is built on top of Bitcoin's ideas. But once you fork it, though, then everything after that is all on you to improve. So it might be better for them to wait until, or maybe participate with Caspa, get Caspa, work with Caspa. Caspa's an open community and stuff. So, you can work with Caspa, get it where it needs to go, then you can fork it and make a coin. Because, Caspa's still working on some of the basic stuff that is planned for Caspa, like the BP, the BPS stuff, whatever. And I think that's kind of probably like one of the major things is that one. Yeah. So any development that they do, though, you're going to have to also do in your fork.
Otherwise, what's the point of your chain if you're not keeping up with the current stuff? Why not just support Caspa?
You know what? That's another thing. We talked about something earlier, and I think that's something to watch out for. A really big thing to watch out for in coins is look at the development work that's being done and has been being done.
Oh
'Cause
man,
I
yeah.
forgot.
Oh geez, how did we forget that?
I know.
Like that's what. Yeah.
That's like the
It
number one
does.
thing, actually. Because what happens sometimes a coin will pump, everybody jumps on it and think it's going to be, oh, this coin's going to do great, it's doing great. And then you look at it, no, nothing's been done for like 2 years on the coin. It just once in a while, things randomly pump. Somebody, with these smaller cap coins, it's really easy to manipulate the price. Like somebody could have just bought like a $10,000 worth of this coin and it went up 10,000%, or something. Well, maybe that's a little extreme, but you know what I mean. So it's really important to look at the development work that's being done. Is it even being worked on?
Yeah, yeah. That's like what 2 days ago, Vish AI. Like I thought this was kind of neat because it had this different algorithm, this older algorithm, yes power, and I was like, because this algorithm was killing me because it was killing a bunch of us. We're trying to optimize it, and and then something happened on the chain. My theory is someone came along, found a way to bump off the master nodes. A 51% attack happened, and like the longest chain won, which was the chain that our plant was on. Everyone else got bumped off, and the devs silent. Okay, project's dead. Project's dead to me. Yeah.
It's rough, man. And it's going to happen again, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I bet you most of these Caspa forks are gonna suffer similar fates.
And
I think that, if one important thing, I still don't really fully understand how a lot of the devs are like able to stay above, like continue working on their coins, that weren't pre-mined, I don't know. I guess they have various ways. Because I was asking Alp, that was like the first thing in the Lefty my Aster team. I was very confused about like, how are you guys staying funded? Like, what's keeping you guys working on this? Because it's really important. You got to make sure that the developers have like motivation to continue working on stuff.
Yep.
And this is why also I think it's really important to diversify not only like coins, stuff like that, but also like really important to spread hash rate on pools, and also important to spread hash rate across miners too, because competition is good for everyone, I think. Maybe it doesn't feel like that as a developer sometimes when you've got like some strong competition, but it really is, because it makes people innovate and continue working on stuff. Because if somebody has no motivation to work on something, they're not going to, unless they're an open source dev. And I don't understand them, but I do appreciate their work.
it has to be done, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think Novo, Kyla Coin, those both kind of appear to be in that bucket of just not a whole lot going on. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but
no, I mean there hasn't been any new releases. No, I can't disagree with that.
That's funny. I just did an update for Novo not that long ago. For Wooly specifically. Doing some with the extranauts.
So, as far as future plans for you guys, is there anything that you want to share with everybody that you have in the roadmap, so to speak? Are you excited about anything that's coming? I know that BZ, you focused a lot of energy recently on implementing things for Dynex, but I think you've got some goals to accomplish here in the near future.
Yeah, I have a few plans this year actually with some things. Dynex took a lot more time than I expected. I knew it was going to take a while, just didn't. I even then really underestimated how much time. I'm still nowhere near like where I want to be with Dynex, but I got to move on. I'm falling way behind on stuff. So Rabbit brought it up a couple of times already, but I do. All algorithms in BZ actually are first implemented on the CPU and like optimized on CPU, and I do that so that I can validate the results from the GPU. So basically, I plan to support CPU mineable coins very soon. The only reason why the only thing I need to do is expose the CPU as a device, And I haven't done that yet because all the coins I've added are not useful to mine on the CPU. But there's, been more and more reasons to get CPU mining support in.
Awesome.
Diversification.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And something, I'm not sure if everybody's going to be excited about this or not, but I've been working a lot. Well, yeah, recently. I plan to actually, I don't know if I should even say it right now or not. Sometimes my plans fall through, but I would like to get FPGA support as well in BZ. I just think, I really think the future of mining is going to be in dedicated hardware. And I think GPU mining is always going to be there because GPUs can move around so fast.
Hmm.
Like when a new coin first comes out, it's just useful to be able to jump to very quickly. So you've got the GPU while the FPGAs and ASICs, whatever, are being built. Anyways, yeah. So we'll see what happens, I guess, with that.
Okay. Matt, what about you? You guys got anything coming up in the near future?
Yeah, I can't say what one of them is because Bass would absolutely string me up, but it's going to be big. It's a coin we've all heard of, but nobody is really pool mining, so it's going to be big.
I bet I know what it
And
is.
I bet you do. Uh, I bet you everyone does, but we're starting development on that. The other thing is we're gonna bring Zeph to production.
Awesome.
I'm gonna buckle down and do it. Uh, those are the two big things. In my side, I was sort of playing around with that yes power algorithm. I actually got in touch with one of the original developers of it, and I was talking to him about it because the last time they did anything was like 4000 series on Intel, and so like architectures, new processors completely changed. And I was talking with him about caching and all sorts of stuff, and he gave me some good ideas, and I did some work on it, and I sent it back, and he's like, "No, this is not what I was talking about at all." So, so I'll probably play around with that a little bit more just for my curiosity and fun playing around with it. Um, but but Zeph, and we got another coin coming. But that's what's going on with the pool.
Awesome.
Just one thing. So I guess just so everybody knows, probably I won't be adding like too many coins for a little bit. I just got a lot of features and housekeeping I need to get done, like in BZ, that I just haven't really been able to take care of
Oh,
yet.
somebody asked me to ask you about ZIL. They were saying something about the ZIL hash rate wasn't up to par with the different miner. I don't remember what it was. Probably Rigel or something like that. But any
Oh,
word on
really?
that?
Yeah, I haven't really looked at, the ethash algorithm in BZ for a little while. It might need, with a lot of changes that happen, sometimes you get like adverse effects on other things.
Mm.
And I do have like a little test suite that I kind of run everything through just to make sure things work. But sometimes, hash rate can drop, and it might depend on the card or some other settings. I don't know. I guess I haven't really heard anything yet about that. It might
Okay.
depend on the other algorithm they're mining or something.
I think he
Or
was
BZ's just
using
broke.
AMD. I'll tell him to just reach out to
Oh,
you.
okay. Yeah. If it's on AMD, then probably I don't really have like the best AMD implementations usually. I'm kind of more focused on NVIDIA generally, but I'm getting better at AMD. Just
Says the
yeah.
big AMD miner for
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
Linux.
Yeah. Nobody's ever relied on me for AMD until Dynex, so it was kind of weird when that happened.
It is pretty wild, man. Truth is stranger than fiction. So the
Yeah.
last thing I wanted to wrap up with you guys is just a little bit of market speculation. I feel like we're getting pretty euphoric right now. A lot of coins are pumping. Everything's doing really well. But there's also a lot going on in the macroeconomic situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the data that we're spoon fed from mainstream media and even government numbers themselves, it's really, really hard to put any kind of faith in anything that we're told these days. And I'm just curious, let's say, for example, if we do have a significant crash after, let's say, the halving or something like that, like, What do you guys see happening in between now and towards the end of 2025?
Uh,
So I got to tell you, I don't watch the news. I turned that off like 4 years ago. I don't watch the news at all. Um, and I mean, I got to give props to Rabbit because he calls it out. He's like, ignore what you hear the people saying, follow, what your beliefs are, and then just zoom out and look at a chart, the 4 year chart. The cycle repeats.
fourth trim.
And yeah. And so that's my North Star. I have a belief. I invest in the things that I believe in. If they all don't hit, okay. But I also diversify. So, some things will hit, some things won't.
Right on.
Yeah. Yep. I would say you need to, when you're looking at the charts, a really good idea to do is to look at the log chart rather than, the default like linear chart.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, I think spikes can be super misleading. Spikes and dips. It's best to, squish those and see the bigger picture where things are going. So that's probably a good idea. It's sometimes tough though, because like if you were to look at Alephium, like 6 months ago or something like that, it looked like not very good. But if you knew the project, uh, you might have a good idea that it's probably going to do well in the future though. Even though the graph, like its whole time, like being traded, it didn't look very good from where it started. But now we can see that it really, it, you know, it's tough. I don't know. I'm not a trader, so I wouldn't take any kind of. I just I hold everything. I'm big about investing, I guess, for the future. I don't really care what happens today or tomorrow or next month or anything. I kind of care what's going to happen, later this year or next year, that kind of stuff. I think there's a good. We probably are working our way into the next bull run right now, and I bet we'll see probably a peak probably in 2025. So I would just say be patient.
Okay.
Be patient. Yeah.
That's been a growing challenge for me lately. My bags are getting heavy.
Yeah,
Um,
I know. Oh, you know. Okay, I want to say something that I feel like this next bull run might be kind of tame compared to the last one, and the reason for that is because there's a lot of people from the last bull run that are kind of waiting to, unload. Um, so all this upward pressure for like the bull run that we would be normally having is probably going to be pushed down a lot by people trying to unload from like their last high that they bought in. So that's just something to be aware of. I don't know but there's so much changing in the world. We've got the ETFs, and things are getting more mainstream. So there's a lot of reasons that crypto is being pushed up and more money is coming into it. But there's also a lot of reasons why money might be coming out of it too at that time. So
how long
you've
do you
got
guys think we have of this a new coin every week? I mean, I feel like it's extremely helpful for us miners because it keeps profitability, even though GPU profitability isn't great, but it keeps it profitable, so to speak, because there are a lot of new projects that are just constantly coming out. So it'll pull hash rate away from this project, and it all just kind of counterbalances itself. But eventually regulation is going to come in if it hasn't already started already. But I'm just curious. What are your thoughts on how long the way things operate now? How long can it last? Can it continue forever? Or are we just going to keep creating new coins, or will this eventually come to a head?
Yeah, but as you said that, I thought about what's happening. Like that Ton Congram came out,
Mm-hmm.
and like all of us, like you found it, you you found it, Jake. That was your call. You
That
found
that
that,
was
and
that
we
was
were
guys in
still
Discord, but thank you.
we were still a week or two at least late from a lot of the other people that had been using it and been mining it. and they rented everything on Vast and Chlor. And yet we didn't see significant lower hash rates on the other coins that we were all following.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a tremendous amount of hash out there, just tremendous. So I think that's going to put the capper on the next GPU run.
Yeah, there is a lot of hash rate out there. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like because even when Able came out, there was a lot of hash rate that got concentrated and got rented, and we still did not see big dumps of hash rate on existing coins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for sure, we have. I did a calculation like a few months ago, or whatever. Compared, and this is compared to like the peak of ETH. And and what I had calculated, and of course, is impossible to really calculate exactly, but we're right now we have probably like 10% of all like hash rate mining, compared to what ETH was. When I went through all the coins and kind of estimated. I forgot what I was estimating and how I did that exactly. I did it some way though that I felt pretty confident that we're looking at like a fairly small fraction of all the GPUs that are actually mining right now. Because think about it, everything is always just barely profitable because people are just going from everything. Every time someone gets a little bit profitable, you're just going to see more GPUs turn on until we have another like run or something like ETH, where you're getting this insane rewards, which could I don't know. I expect it to happen again at some point. That it'll probably get to that again. Basically, right now, the supply of GPUs way over meet the demand of my. I don't know. I'll say that. We have to get to a point where like the profits are way higher, or like the rewards are way higher than like the total amount of GPUs in mining power. And right now we're like the GPUs are way up here and the rewards are like way down here. So only like this many GPUs are turned on.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get like a lot more money in and maybe a coin that does really well or a couple coins that do well, hopefully at some point it'll be like, the profits are up here and the available GPUs are like down here. Don't know when that's going to happen or if it does happen, but I expect it probably will happen. It keeps happening. It seems that it keeps happening.
The same thing happened like when Azure locked out the botnets out of Darrow. All of a sudden, all the other CPU coins, profitability went way up.
Yeah, I see. It seems like it's slowly increasing profitability on all coins over the course of the last month, I would say. Like, if you look at, let's say, for instance, a 4090, Nexelia pumped, we got up to about $4 a day in revenue. But a couple of the other coins that were, right behind it also started to come up in profitability because you have that counterbalance of hash rate moving off. And I think as coin prices appreciate, especially with the amount of options that there are to mine right now, that we're just going to see these little incremental steps of profitability getting higher and higher until it really does start to incentivize those large farms and the extra hash rate that's out there.
I think what's likely to happen though, so last bull run we basically had ETH. That was just like the crazy one. I think that this time it's going to be across the board a lot more. I don't know how many more, maybe 5 or something. I don't know, or 100. But I think now, like this next bull run, the mining is not going to be. People are going to have to be a little smarter or a little more. They're going to have a lot more options to jump on this next time. I think ETH was kind of like a special thing that. If it wasn't for ETH, I think I don't know what would happen, but
there's going to be a lot of people using profit switchers.
Yes, yeah. I think profit switch is going to be a big one for this next bull run. It's not going to be so simple as just like plugging in on this one coin and you're done for the next 2 years and making mad profits. I think you're gonna have to be a little more diligent, or he was a profit switcher, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. Lucas just asked to invite Rabbit to come on the chat. I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping up here. However, I want to say that I really want to continue to do this weekly, and this is the type of in-depth conversations that I feel are really necessary to educate people, and I think that's what people are here for. And having said that, Rabbit, if you want to come on the stream, I would absolutely love to have you here. Matt, I want you to be here. BZ, I want you to be here. There's other guests perhaps that we could bring on in the future, but these high level conversations are so important to be had, and I feel like it's kind of been a little bit of a just the balance from several different perspectives is important to have. So, Rabbit, here's the invitation, my friend. If you want to come on now, if there's anything you want to say, let me know. I'll add you to the Discord here. But if not, if you want to come on the next show, that would be fantastic. That being said, if he doesn't come on, we'll probably wrap it up here in just a couple of minutes. But is there anything that you guys wanted to bring up that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah, hit us up with some questions. Like, give us the hard ones.
The hard ones, okay.
Yeah, do it.
We're getting a 22
22.
in chat. Is DJ here too? I haven't seen him.
What's 22 mean? Is that code for something?
Yeah, DJ Mines. He typically that's like his call sign.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, mine's some 10. Thanks for having me on. This is the first time I've ever been on a YouTube thing or done an interview. So it's been fun, and I've enjoyed talking with you guys. I was happy. It was nice meeting you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. It's been like I said before we started. It's like we've worked together for 2 years. It's the first time like we've actually like talked.
Yeah.
And hung out. So it's been great.
Awesome. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for being here. If y'all want to do it again, like I said, I'm going to try and do this thing weekly. I know that Thursdays, if I'm not mistaken, there aren't any big channels that do streams, so Thursday would be a good day. Sunday's obviously a great day, but typically that's kind of a day of rest and time that I try to focus on the family and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll certainly be reaching out to you to join again if you'd like to come. Cool.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, guys, everybody in chat, thank you for being here. I do greatly appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like on the way out, Rabbit. Go enjoy your downtime, my friend, and maybe we'll see you on the next one.
Yep.
All right, peace out,
everybody. Thank you, and see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.